looks almost like the perception is, you know, moving fairly slow, and then as soon as you go approach touchdown with that front foot, then it kind of goes. Yes, so for me, it comes down to like the simple thing that I talk about a lot in my long toss, and it's just another reason why I'm such a proponent of long toss, is because it gives you good feedback as far as that specific goal. But I talked about how I'm trying to throw the ball as far as I can without necessarily trying. So with that same type of cue and verbiage, it means like, how can I apply as much force? How can I move through time and space as efficient as possible? How can I get into the most optimal positions with my feet, my hands? When I talk about how can I apply force, that goes into the same category as how can I apply force efficiently. I talked about the drive leg mechanics in a post that I'll link as well, in terms of like when we go into the force application of our backside, like what does that look like? So it all comes together for me, when it comes together, is like when I'm on a mound, it's like, okay, I'm gonna not try to throw hard, I'm not gonna try to max out and all this stuff, and I'm not saying that's bad, I'm not saying there's a time and place for intent. Intent is great. I think I've talked a lot about how you have to have the intent to throw hard, but let's lay a foundation first, right? Like, let's optimize the moving parts of the delivery first and foremost. And once we optimize that, then we throw the layer of intent on, and it's like, boom, right? Because now we have efficient movements. We have movement and strength capacity in those movements. We've explored ranges like that. I've talked about that as well. And then now we add like the mental component of intent. As gravity tells us that we need to go down the mound, is like, how can we remain forceful into the backside? So you're constantly like, think about it as like, you know, you're pressing down, and that's kind of like a level of a bar going up and up and up. So as soon as like gravity kind of starts to pull us, how can we remain stacked on that backside and still remaining forceful? And then I talked about this in the long toss video, is like when we go to descend, if we can hold that stretch, hold that separation, right? This is where all the technical mechanical verbiage of like scap retraction and rotation and counter rotation and hip shoulder separation, like all of that comes in. But my cue is stretch. So if I'm holding that stretch, I'm essentially building up that like elasticity, right? So think about it like you're shooting a pinball machine. You pull that pinball, and as far as like you can pull it, you hold that tension of that pinball, and then you freaking let it go. And the torque and the energy output and the power output of that is going to be drastically higher if you were just to pull it like, you know, 70% and let it go. So we're trying to pull this thing and hold that stretch, and then this is where, you know, the whole late acceleration goes, is because for me, I'm moving fairly slow within all of that movement, right? I'm lifting, I'm coming down from my lift, separating, I'm on time, and now this is where that process starts to happen. I'm really big on the timing of the release of force of the backside, so internal rotation, and then the timing of the hand, right? So if you think about like a catapult coming through, like if the tip of the catapult is in front of the base, you're not gonna get a solid whip, right? Or if it's behind the base drastically, you're not gonna get a solid whip either. So it has to be just on time, and that's where I look at that drive leg and the hand speed, or the hand timing, and the position of everything moving as one. So I can be slow here, and I can come down from my lift, and then I could hold that tension, I could feel that stretch, and then as soon as, you know, it's comes time to release, as soon as I release that force and I go into internal rotation, and now I start to really feel that power transfer, and then I have to stabilize on the front side, that's when I need my hand to go in rhythm with everything. And as soon as I come to touch down and transfer that force fully, I need this hand in that optimal position to where, you know, it's not up to where like there's that leakage of energy because you're early, and it's not down so that you're forcing your arm to do more and not relying on the body, but it's in that optimal position to where now, after we've built up all that torque and all that energy and all that force, we freaking release it, and it goes from that back hip into that, from that scap retraction, boom, out through. And then that's when we see or visualize that catapult going whoop, and it's just everything at once out through the fingertips, and then we finish that throw as much as we can. That's what I mean by late acceleration, because I mean, yes, we can sit here and talk about just acceleration in general, like the faster you move, like I get it, there's a theory for that, and absolutely it's 100% true. But for me, I'm talking about a specific thing that I think about and what actually goes into it, right? Like the details that do go into it. So hopefully that makes sense.